never been introduced as a miracle worker. That's, wow, that's amazing. Well, it's great to be back with you guys. I was, been here I think 5 years in a row and was keynote last year. So share the stage with my friend Catherine here now. So we're in that club, right? So Needham, is that what you're calling it now? Needham? Northeast Needham? I don't know. Well, it's a real pleasure to be here. Friends, family, I love this show. It's one of the best shows that I go to all year. I go to about 15 or 20 a year, and really enjoy talking about patient access and what patient access folks can do for patients and for hospitals. And it's pretty incredible where you are in the where reform is right now. You know, it's just incredible. So you guys are getting a lot of good stuff out of these sessions and from each other, right? I mean, that's just incredible what you get from each other, because you guys have incredible amount of experience just, you know, among yourselves. So it's awesome to see all that collaboration going on. So I'm going to talk to you about the access keys today. How many of y'all have seen the access keys? Know a little bit about it? Okay, quite a few of y'all. The access keys came about through an industry standards committee with NAHAM. Started about, I think about 4 years ago. We first started talking about key performance indicators. Everybody knows that the MAP keys from HFMA really kind of, you know, set the stage for how hospitals started measuring performance on the back end. Pretty much back end. They've got a few that are front end focused, but they didn't quite go as far as they could have, because and I was on that committee. Can you hear me? Oh, you can't hear me. Where's the volume? Oh, okay. Good idea. How about that? Is that better? Okay.
Good. Hey.
The air is really loud in here. Yeah.
But it's very hot. So.
Yeah, then it gets hot. Trade-off. So the Industry Standards Committee started about 4 years ago, and we really set out to give some structure to what was kind of structureless, right, in patient access. We kind of know, those of us that work in it, what it's about, but you know, putting the art, it's really been an art, right? And so we've tried to put some science to the art of patient access, so that everybody knows what success looks like, smells like, feels like, right? And so we really set out to add some structure to the industry, and that was the goal. And I think we've done that for the second version of the access keys. So that's going to be the main topic today, and I'm going to make a personal commitment to you guys. I'm not AccuReg right now, okay? I'm NAHAM. You're not going to get vendor bombed, right? Like kind of like a photo bomb, right? So we're not talking about that. We're talking about, fair enough? All right, that's my personal commitment to you guys. So the session agenda today, here it is, NAHAM Industry Standards Committee. I'm going to give you a quick finance 101 lesson, because one thing I've learned is that we got to learn to speak CFO, right? If we're going to elevate our credibility and our impact, right, in the finance world. So we're just going to hit just a few things. And then we're going to talk about the access keys themselves, 22 KPIs that were launched in January of this year, and have been revised twice, and they're being revised again now. So version 3 is coming out, and so that's kind of exciting. Education courses to improve those KPIs, and encouragement. So 3 success stories, and the purpose of the success stories is just encouragement, right? You need to be encouraged when you come to these kinds of shows, right? That it gives you hope, gives you inspiration, right? Get that from each other, get that energy from each other to take back home. And then we're going to end with some NAHAM resources, handouts, and of course the NAHAM website, which we've got a lot of tools out there. Just a little quick picture. So 18 people that have been on this committee. Amazing people. We've got, let's see, I think Sandy's up there, Sandy Manley from Bassett. She would be here, but she's busy with epicurizing her hospital. But fantastic group of people, honored to work with them all. And so the Industry Standards Committee, or the ISC as we call it, came up with several tools. The first one that we built was a registration time and FTE calculator. So it's always good to know when you go into meetings, how many registrars does it take to do X, right? We're going to open up a new MRI center, and how many registrars do you need? So this is a tool that you can put some basic information in, the tasks that you want done, the time it takes to do each task, and then it calculates for you the FTEs and the cost per reg. There's a lot of it, and you can even compare to peers in it. The more people use it, the more data we've got to compare, right? So we're still working on that. So I encourage you guys to take advantage of that. I'll show it to you in a sec. Pre-registration tasks and tiers, again, structure to the art of patient access. Pre-reg is defined about 8 different ways, right? You could do these, you could do these, you could do these. So what we did was we had a debate, about a 6-month debate about that, and we ended up with 4 tiers. So now when you talk to a colleague, and you say, right, what's the, what percentage of scheduled patients are you pre-regging? And they say 90%. And you say, okay, but what tier are you? Because you're doing 90% at tier 1 is very different than 90% at tier 3, right? So we're not going to dive into that one too much today. The 22 KPIs, we will. The benchmarks, so the first thing we did was identify the calculations for 22 key performance indicators. What should we measure? How do we measure it? What's the numerator? What's the denominator? What's the data source? How do you calculate it, right? How do you get the data? And all that information is in a user's guide that we developed. And it's 22 pages, 1 page for each KPI. And that was a labor of love. I mean, that was a ton of time to put that thing together, and a lot of debate, right, in the committee, because people have different opinions about how you should do everything. And so we just had this open debate for 3 years, until we settled on these things. So pretty exciting stuff. And then the benchmarks were, our way of saying, well, what should the POS collection rate be? And so we thought, well, everybody's different in different stages, right, on your growth, on your journey to success. And so we thought, well, let's do good, better, best, and come up with some numbers that make sense. And so we do that with a poll of first the committee members. They go to their hospitals and they look at what they're doing and they bring that back. We started with that, and then we went to the NAHAM membership. No, we went to the board next, right? And then they approved it or questioned it, and we went back and revised. And then we went to a larger survey of all NAHAM members, right? And so we got all that back and then revised the good, better, best benchmarks, and we continue to do that every 6 months is the goal. So we're doing another one right now, and Terry actually at Sandy, at Bassett is helping revise the actual questionnaire right now. So you guys that are members, and I hope you're all members. If you're not, you should be, right? Just going to say that. The survey will come to you in the next few weeks, and so really appreciate you filling that out and get because that information is going to help the good, better, best benchmarks become recalibrated to, because things change over time, right? The user's guide we chatted about, and then we've got webinars and education programs to promote the use of these things. We know that training is really a big key for access managers and their teams to be able to use these key performance indicators. And so we've got a lot of webinars lined up. We've got a speakers bureau made up of 4 people from the committee that are, have a PowerPoint will travel, right? And so they are going out and basically doing what I'm doing. So it's great. And they're going to HFMA, they're going to AHAM, they're going to the NAHAM shows, all of them. Presented at AHAM last week. Mike Copps and I presented at ANI of HFMA a couple months ago on the access keys. So it's wonderful to be able to put this out there and say, these are the industry standards for patient access. So let me take you a quick peek into the time and FTE calculator. We'll see if I can log into this quickly. There we go. It's up. All right, so a quick overview. The top part of it is the time calculator. Oh, that's not it. That's just the PowerPoint. I want to show it to you live so you really get a sense of how it works. And I am not getting a response here from... Okay, I'm not going to waste time on that. So this is on the NAHAM website. Members only can access this. The top of it is a time calculator, which basically the way it works is you go down the list. There's, I think, 25 tasks, right, that registration could do. Now that alone is amazing, right? Okay, y'all know about all that. And so then we grouped the pre-reg tiers over here on the left side. So the first, bunch of them are called basic pre-registration. And then there's a second tier, a third tier, and a fourth tier. And so I just encourage you guys to go look at that. The way it works is you approach this tool thinking about a location. So you might be thinking about your main reg area, your ED, think about one location. And you go through here and you just include the items that you want your registrars to do, or maybe that your CFO wants your registrars to do, right? And then you use the good, better, best time. These are minutes and seconds. And you can use the ones that are there, which were from a survey, right, that we did to get a starting point, right, to help people out. Or you could do your own time motion study and say, well, it doesn't really take 3 minutes. It takes 1 minute for us to do that. Everybody's different. And so you can key in your own numbers in here, and then it automatically calculates for you how much time it takes to do a registration, right? At that level of task and at that time, right? And so it's as accurate as you want it to be. If you want it to be super accurate, you do your own time motion study, right? So it's a way to put this information in there, and then it calculates for you, the total time required to do one reg in that location. The bottom part, which I can't show you because I can't log in for some reason, is the FTE part. And so you key in a few fields that it has open for you that are colored, and it says, what's your volume coming into that location? What's your cost per hour for an average employee? And it calculates for you the number of FTEs you need and the total annual cost that it's going to cost you, right? So y'all can see how helpful that could be, right? When you've got consultants in maybe and they're saying you need to cut, right? And you're saying, no, I need to add, right? Because you keep giving me more stuff to do on the list, right? And it takes time. So it's just a real practical tool that, gosh, we've had it out there about 2 years. Once you go through that process and it gives you, the numbers that you're looking for, the FTEs and the cost, it calculates a cost per reg, which is one of the KPIs. So there's a connection back to the KPIs. And then you have a compare to peers. So you click that, and it takes all your data from that instance and compares it to other people that are in the same boat as you are. So you can pick people in the same region, the same ADT system, the same bed size, the same volume, so it really helps kind of narrow down the playing field and compare it to how other people are doing it in the same type of, and by service as well. So that's the FTE calculator. Any quick questions about that before I move forward? Okay. Y'all can shout it out. Some of you are looking really curious, like, what? Go ahead.
So one of the tasks in there is MSP questions, and one of the challenges I had is, yes, we do MSP questions, but not every patient is a Medicare patient. So I couldn't figure out how to get a ratio, so I just did it by volume and just did, here's what it takes for the non-Medicare, here's the Medicare. But that was a challenge I had when I was trying to use it.
Yeah, it doesn't get that specific. So, and your payer mix is another factor that you just have to, average it out. But that's a good thought for the next version of this thing. So, yeah, good question. Anybody else? How many of y'all found it useful? Used it to figure out staffing and budget and so forth? Okay. So that was the first tool that we developed. And again, it includes the second tool, which is the pre-reg tiers. So I encourage you to go to the website and see that. And you can download the pre-reg tiers on its own document, which is really a really helpful tool to think through where are we, in my pre-reg department. Are we at tier 1, 2, 3, or 4? And it's pretty simple to peg where you are, you know. It also kind of gives you a roadmap of where you could go, you know, what's next. So it's a journey that we're on. You know, you can't do it all immediately. So the key performance indicators are broken down into 6 domains or categories: POS collections, private pay conversions, patient experience, process failures, productivity, and quality. And before we dive into some of the specific KPIs, I want to give you a little hospital finance. How many of y'all know what your hospital's net patient revenue was last year? 2014. All right. Okay. That's a number everybody should know. Okay. One reason is because there's a lot of the KPIs that use that as a denominator. Right? So net patient revenue, right? Can anybody tell me what net patient revenue is? I bet you can. It's cash. Yeah, it's basically the money, the cash that your hospital brought in all year for patient care services. So forget the parking lot fees, forget the cafeteria, right? Forget the gift shop. It's just patient care services. What did we get paid for patient care services? Net of contractuals, so I don't want to get too complicated, but that's why they call it the net, right? But it's net patient revenue, or sometimes they call it net patient service revenue. So it's all the money that you make as a hospital for patient care. Make sense? So it's money from insurance, money from patients, all of it together. Net patient service revenue, or net patient revenue. Now, anybody know what, let's see, uncompensated care, let's hit that. A lot of people use the term bad debt, and they really are talking about uncompensated care, okay? Because uncompensated care is bad debt and charity together, right? So just, again, it's just a little quick Finance 101 lesson, important to know as you move down the road of the KPIs. So, question on that? So uncompensated care is everything that the hospital wrote off. This is money they didn't get, they thought they were going to get, they booked it, they had accounts, they provided services, but they're just not going to get any money for it, right? So the average uncompensated care rate in the United States is 6%. Does anybody know what your uncompensated care write-off was last year? Okay, I'm going to challenge you again. Patient access directors, you got to take the bull by the horns here, right? If you want credibility, you got to know these numbers, right? And don't let it scare you. It's not that big a deal. I mean, it's just a lot of zeros, but you know, it's just numbers. It's just numbers. Ask your CFO, ask your PFS director, ask, you know, RevCycle exec. It's really helpful to know, and when you're in the hallway and talking to your CFO or somebody in finance and you let these numbers roll off your head, well, you know, our net patient revenue last year was, you know, 120 million, and this year it's kind of, you know, not that. What's going on, right? You're going to blow them away, right? So it's not really rocket science. It's just a couple of numbers. Now, the uncompensated care is really important for patient access, and here's why. And a lot of access managers don't understand this, but this is absolutely true and very powerful, is that you and your team can change the bad debt to charity ratio. Now you're speaking CFO, aren't you? Right? You're speaking that language because you can actually change it. And we're going to talk about how. But the average uncompensated care in the U.S. is 6%, and it's bad debt plus charity is the total write-off or uncompensated care. The benchmark is 70-30, right? So if you wrote off $1 million, you know, 700,000 of it should be bad debt, 300,000 of it should be charity, right? That's kind of the benchmark people like to shoot for. Was at a hospital recently and looked at their 990, which is, y'all know what a 990 is? Anybody know what that is? That's like a 1040 for hospitals. Right? For nonprofit organizations. Any nonprofit in the U.S. has to fill out a 990 every year, right? In that 990 are these kind of numbers, and they're really eye-opening. It's really interesting. Kind of gotten where I like reading them. You know, I was looking at a hospital recently, and they wrote off $100 million in 2014. And guess what their bad debt to charity ratio was? Again, it's supposed to be 70-30, right? 70% to bad debt, 30 goes to charity, because they're nonprofit, so they have to meet charity obligations to keep their nonprofit status, so 501(r) and all that, right? It was 95 to 5. 95 to 5. And when I read down in the notes on the back page, it was really interesting, and this is a note that I see all the time. It said, we know from the little bit of research that we did on all of our bad debt that we just wrote off, that 95 million of bad debt, that about 30 million of it should have been classified as charity. But we couldn't. You know why they couldn't? It's literally what it said. The patients were uncooperative. Ow. This is why Senator Grassley started the whole 501 thing, right? He said, you can't blame your patient for not classifying it as charity. But, they didn't go through the process, or the process is very arduous on the patient and on the hospital, because you got to verify all the data, right? And so, a lot of patients don't complete it. And so if you don't do it right, you can't classify it as charity, and so it goes to the bad debt side, right? And so, by and large, bad debt is bad, charity is good, right? There's a lot of, right? I mean, it's real simple, yeah. So 70-30 would be a good thing. So a quick definition of charity versus bad debt is charity is patients who could not pay, right? Bad debt, patients and payers who would not pay, right? Just a simple how you think about that, the two. The UCC of over 6%, meaning total write-offs, right? If your hospital is over 6%, and I'd really challenge you to go back home and ask somebody, what did we write off last year in total uncompensated care? And how much of it went to bad debt versus charity? Was it 70-30? Was it 90-10? What was it? Be just really interesting for you guys to get those numbers. But if your hospital is over 6%, right, on the total write-offs, and or your charity is below 30% of the total of the write-off, it indicates one of three things could be going on. And they're all front-end opportunities. Okay, so this is the point I want to make. This is in your wheelhouse to change. Ready? Yeah.
So have you included in the bad debt payers because that's where you're putting in denial?
Yes, that's right. Great question. So the first front-end problem is that if you're over 6% or under 30 on the charity, you're not effectively collecting patient payments up front, right? And that's balanced after insurance and self-pay. We've had a lot of great discussions about that, so everybody's up to speed on that one. Or second option or problem is you're not fully classifying charity care, right? So the example I gave you of the hospital I just mentioned. And the solution to that second one is presumptive charity, right? So why chase them 6 months after service when you could qualify them, pre-qualify them for charity care prior to service, and go ahead and move it off that plan code, put it on charity, or put it on presumptive charity and let somebody else review it, right? Have another process to make sure that the registrar got it right. Right? So there are ways to get that done. It's not that difficult with all the data that's out there today, and credit bureau data, and even 1040 data is available to pinpoint an FPL, federal poverty level, which is usually how they do it. But you can also do it on 2-dimension or 3-dimension using credit score, using debt to income ratio, using residual income, remaining credit. A lot of metrics are out there on all of us, right? So we kind of know that, but we don't really want to think about it, but it's there. And so, when the patients are coming in, there are simple ways to do presumptive charity in patient access. And so that has you can see now how you have some control over the bad debt to charity ratios, right? The third opportunity or problem area is what Nancy just talked about, is insurance denials. They're not adequately preventing the insurance denials because, again, that's going to go to the bad debt side. Right? You're not going to give charity to an insurance company, are you? Right. So it's on the bad debt side. So the better you prevent the denials from happening, the less you have to manage them. So everybody understands this, how this goes. We all get it, right? So Powerful, powerful three things that you can do in your access and pre-access teams to change the financial picture of your hospital. Now, how powerful is that? You think that would give you some credibility with your board? Forget the CFO. Let's go to the board, right? The CEO. He's going to come in your office and say, thank you. You know, you're saving us, right? How many of y'all get feedback like that from your executives? Probably with POS collections. That's like the first, low-hanging fruit that people are really pushing right now. So are your executives coming in there and saying, great job? Good, good. But it's a journey, right? It doesn't happen overnight. It takes a long time. This industry moves at glacier speed, right? And so you have to be patient. You have to be, on it every day, and it's a culture shift. And so here's what the access keys look like. These are the 22 KPIs. Let's see if I can get this over here for you guys to see the whole thing. So the collections KPIs are right here, grouped together here. Conversions, patient experience, critical processes, and then accuracy down at the bottom. And we'll just go over them real quick because, again, these are available on the NAHAM website. And I actually have some handouts here that you can have. There's about 30 of them. I don't think there's more than 30 of y'all here. But you can see how this works. The access key is, the title of it's here, POS collections to revenue. And the equation is POS collections divided by net patient service revenue. Oh, I've got a clicker. Yeah. And the good, better, best benchmarks over here to the right, so 1%, 1.5%, and 2%. See, now you know why I was teaching you about net patient service revenue, right?